Welcome back to Level Header Gamer. My name is Joseph, and today I want to talk about Outriders, another theory crafting video, but this time for the Technomancer. I'm going to give you the armor I'm going to pick, the skill tree I'm going to use with what kind of abilities, as well as the guns I'm going to utilize with this build. And I'll tell you kind of my overall playstyle of how I'm going to be utilizing it overall. But if you do enjoy this kind of content, guys, subscribe down below. And I would love to know from you, what kind of armor sets would you like me to do a theory crafting for? Or give me some of your ideas in the comments down below. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Now, the armor set I picked here is going to be the Monarch Armor Set, and it's pretty simple how it's going to be utilized, right? It's just freezing as many enemies as possible on a consistent basis so they don't have a chance to even breathe. And I'm going to play in a mid-range to close range even with this character because of the cryo turrets. But right away we can see on the legendary headgear, there's twins. You can summon 2 cryo turrets, which I thought was going to be a very useful mod for this character overall. Not to mention, anytime Cold Snap either becomes stronger or reduces armor, it just overall makes the enemies so much weaker and lasts for much longer. Not to mention, there's a mod on legendary gloves, Captain Hunter, increases your damage against elite, where it's going to make it very useful. And not to mention, I think the armor set bonus increases the weapon damage on frozen enemies by 80% and crit damage. I think it's going to play a big role as well, just being able to eliminate everybody in the area. And that's basically, you know, I think we've went through this armor before, and I don't want to go through all the mods, but idea stays the same. I just kind of scroll through all these armor pieces, and you can look at them more into detail, but you know why I'm utilizing this build and how I'm going to be utilizing this armor. But I want to show you my skill tree, how I'm going to utilize to make sure to take advantage of Cold Snap and the cryo turret. Let's get into that right away. Now, the skill tree I decided to go with was going to be the Tech Shaman, right? Because it's going to reinforce my gadget skill cooldown. But let me tell you why I chose it, right? Because main of the abilities I'm going to be using, 2 of them are Cryo Turret and Cold Snap. That's what my whole armor is going to be based around. But the third ability I wanted to utilize was going to be Tool of Destruction. I think it's going to be very useful when I'm going to be making these enemies so much weaker through freezing, and then using Tool of Destruction to absolutely obliterate them really quickly. Let me show you how it's going to look on the skill tree. I'm going to quickly go through all of these. We're going to have 10% health, cooldown on gadgets, 10% health, damage against frozen, and again, since I'm going to be freezing them all the time, it's going to be useful. 10% health, skill cooldown on gadget again, 10% health. Now check it out, we got 2 here. We got freeze applies vulnerable as well, and plus 40% vulnerability effectiveness, as well as increased turret health. Right, since I'm going to have 2 turrets on, I want them to last longer. I want them to keep freezing things because I'm most likely going to be waiting for my Cold Snap to recharge. And then there's going to be 20% freeze duration here, as well as some weapon leech, 20% armor. Activating any gadget skill increases all healing received for you and your allies for 30%. So I think the build I'm creating here is going to be very useful in a team setting, not to mention for solo as well. And this skill tree is going to make it more easier for him to survive in combat. Increasing all healing done by you and your allies by 20%. Again, this is pretty awesome. 30% damage against frozen. And the last one here, activating a gadget skill increases weapon damage and anomaly power by 40% for 10 seconds. And upon losing all health, you will receive a second chance to return to battlefield with 50% maximum health for 10 seconds. Again, this is going to make him a lot tankier and more useful in closer combat is what I want him to be, mid to close range depending on the situation. But here I also got health regen threshold is increased by 20%, not to mention some weapon damage. And here activating ordnance skill increases weapon damage for you and your allies for 30%. And since I'm going to be utilizing Tool of Destruction, that's where it's going to come into play. I think I'm mostly going to be using the RPG, but we'll see how it really plays out. Now you see how I'm thinking, right? My thinking process for this build. I'd love to hear how you fix it up yourself, but I want to move on to the weapons I would utilize, and I'll give you a small screenshot here so you can see of all the percentages I'm going to have on my character. Now, surprise, surprise, well actually nobody's going to be surprised here, is one of the guns I am going to be using is the Iceberg, the legendary bolt action rifle. And because one of the abilities I'm going to have on the arm is aiming down the sights is going to give me more crit. So this is just going to reinforce it here, not to mention the Winter Blast, well, particularly Icebreaker mod, killing shots against frozen enemies makes them explode, dealing more damage. And of course, this is for a level 1 item. Now imagine for a level 52 item. So this is going to be a lot more powerful with a 200% crit damage. I think in the mid-range combat, or if I need to stay a little bit further back, this is going to be pretty useful. But I have a feeling, since I want to be mid to close range, this is not going to be as useful as my other guns, which is going to be absolute zero. And that's where I'm going to utilize shots inflict freeze and shots inflict vulnerable. I'll most likely take one of the mods from the iceberg, the icebreaker, and apply it to absolute zero. I think it's going to be more useful here, but I think this is going to be a very useful gun to utilize from my mid to close range for this character. But the other gun I'm going to use, I'm thinking, is Grim Marrow. Now, we know the mods are not working particularly well right now, but the Singularity mod in a freezing setting, I think is going to be absolutely insane, because I can freeze a bunch of enemies in place, kill one of them, cause the Singularity to come up, shoot the Singularity, and just do even more damage around me. I think it's going to be a really great weapon. Not to mention, I want to have 2 different ammo types. In case I run out of ammo on one assault rifle, I could always switch it quick to something else. And the handgun I'm going to use is Lucky. I'll be honest with you, I'm using it for the crit here, and I do like the pinball mod, you know, ricocheting. Honestly, just because it's going to make me feel like Revolver Ocelot in Metal Gear Solid, I'm on board with this gun automatically. I don't know how useful sidearms are going to be in this game. Typically they're not that useful. It's just people kind of showing off usually. But that's my build I have for Technomancer. Hopefully you liked my build overall, and I would love to hear your comments on it. And guys, make sure to enjoy the rest of your day. And if you're playing Outriders demo or grinding it, I hope you're enjoying grinding. Take care, guys. Peace out.